Hi, Achievers.
I'm Stacey.
And I'm Jessica.
And today we're here to help you prepare with virtual interviews, and we're going to go over tips, what to expect, and follow-up questions for potential employers.
Awesome. So in light of COVID-19, we put together a little presentation that you can utilize as a skill or a resource, that would help you interview virtually. So we're going to share our screen with you right now and go over the presentation that we put together. Bear with me. And here we are. We'll be back, but we're going to just minimize for a little bit. So the new age, virtual interviewing. It seems like right now, with everything that's going on, there's a lot of virtual interaction. So we thought, put something together that may help to, decrease some of that pressure. So we're going to go right into it.
So here's what we'll cover. We're going to go over the steps on setting up virtual interviews, what to expect during the interview, and also follow-up questions for the interviewer.
So, tips. Test your technology. When I say that, I mean that as soon as you hear from an employer about, we're going to invite you to a Zoom call or a Skype call, make sure you test whatever technology that you're going to utilize for that interview, whether it is a cell phone or a laptop. You want to make sure that you're prepared.
And what this means is we want to make sure that you have Wi-Fi that's actually working, you're in a good spot, and you are having all of the necessary equipment that you may need for this interview.
Absolutely. Setting the scene and dressing the part. So setting the scene, just like Stacey mentioned, making sure that your background is clean and almost like a blank canvas. Yes, you can have some things behind you, but you want to make sure to minimize clutter or anything that would be distracting to the person interviewing you.
You also want to dress the part, and I know working from home right now, it doesn't really matter what you're wearing from your waist down, but we want to make sure that from the waist up, you're wearing something professional, that your hair is done, that you are looking professional, right? And so we want to make sure that the person that's on the other screen sees the best of you.
Absolutely. Practice, but don't memorize. Anytime you're interviewing or doing anything else, you want to practice, but you don't want to do it so much where it looks scripted or memorized as if you were playing a part.
Right, and then you also want to make a connection. So this is really your time to talk to the employer and be prepared with what you want out of this new job. So the reason why you want this job is A, B, and C. You want to make sure that you are prepared with those things. The employer will be able to look at you through the screen and know that you are the person, the right candidate, the person that they want to hire. But don't forget, you want to
be yourself. Absolutely. And touching on that, making a connection, even though it's over the internet, you want to make sure that you're able to connect with your audience, which is the other person on the other side of the camera interviewing you.
So what to expect? We have here a couple common interview questions. And so we want to do kind of a mock interview type situation so you know what to expect. And so we've included the talking points and some questions.
Yeah. Some questions at the end of the slides. In our follow-up slides, you'll be able to see what questions we feel are most common when you are being interviewed.
So some of these questions that we're talking about are talk a little bit about yourself. And so we want you to be prepared with knowing what to talk about. You want to talk about your achievements. We want to make sure that you are looking and presenting your best self.
Absolutely. Appropriate posture and eye contact. It's so important that although you're not sitting directly in front of someone, they still can see you're fidgeting. And I'm huge on hand gestures, so I've been practicing on holding my hands underneath the table, which is also a technique that you can use to make sure you're not moving too much. Eye contact. It's important to make contact with the camera so that it's as if you were looking at the person and not so much that you're staring into their soul.
Jessica and I have decided that we're going to send a few screenshots of what our setup looks like. And so that way you guys can take a little bit of a, some cues from us and see what we're doing. We set up our laptop to be at eye level. And we also put little sticky notes at the top of our laptop screens so we know where we're looking at. And this is a great reminder of where we're supposed to be looking at, and if we drift off, these arrows that we've placed will remind us this is where we're supposed to be looking at the camera.
Absolutely. And so important when you're thinking about taking that next step into a virtual interview, if you've had that offer, know your resume. You need to know what you've sent to that prospective job and what information you provided to them. So when they ask you a question, you are definitely referencing the information you've provided to them. And it is okay to have notes in front of you as well.
If you want to print out a copy of your resume, that's great. You definitely do that. And you can have it, just on the side, and you can quickly look down and look back up, and it's not going to look very obvious, but you can maybe highlight some of the things that you want your employer to know and the talking points that you have.
Appropriate follow-up questions. So you want to make sure that they have not already answered these within the interview, but at the end of it, it is okay to say, I'm not sure if you covered this, but I'd like to ask. Couple questions we came up with were,
so what does a typical day look like within this company? And so this is a great question because it gives you an idea of what you're expected to do and what their current employees are doing now. And so really it's just your opportunity to get to know the company a little bit better without sounding too invasive.
Yes. Another question, what does culture and inclusiveness mean to your company? Right now, that's probably more important than ever, really making sure that the culture of that company you're interviewing for is fitting with what your beliefs and values are as an individual, and making sure that there's still some type of inclusiveness even through the virtual age.
And our last question is, what are the next steps in the hiring process? And I like this question because it really makes you sound invested, and you want to make yourself seem as though you already have this job. So you talk about it as if it's yours. So when you say, what are my next steps in the hiring process, you talk about, do you need anything for me to send to you? Do you need me to?
Yeah, absolutely. Do I need to send anything? Do I need to do anything else? Should I wait for a phone call or an email? So our follow-up slides and extra info we've provided. We're not going to go into detail about each thing we've indicated, but as the slide before, we talked about some questions that the interviewer may ask you, and we've given hints as to what you can answer those as well. So we'll leave this with you. We're going to send this out so you'll be able to go back and review it. And as always, stay safe and healthy.
Stay healthy.
Practice social distancing and proper hygiene.
Bye.
So, hey guys, we're back. We've obviously just shared our screen with you. We've shown our presentation that we put together. These are just some things that Stacey and I were able to discuss and we thought were valuable. So it's also good to give your case manager a little feedback on how you felt about the video, and maybe some others that we can put together that would be useful at this time.